Hi, my name is Kennedy Ogaba, and this is my presentation about wired versus wireless network assignment for week 1 of ITT 370. Before we go discussing about the wired and wireless network, we want to look at the OSI model. So the OSI model is a conceptual framework used to describe the function of a networking system. And this framework is made up of 7 layers, of which the wired and wireless network falls under the bottom 2 layer, as you can see here, the physical and data link layer. And the other layers include the network, transportation, section, presentation, and application. But just to let you know where the wired and wireless network fall, in which is where it's the internet. The internet is under the data link and physical layer. So moving on, we look at the devices or equipment used for both wireless and wired network. A wired network uses a router, switch, hub, and cable. Hub are not that popular anymore, but they used to be the main device used back in the days, and switch is not taking up hub's place because you have switch that gives you multiple point where you can connect devices together. So basically that's what hub was doing. You use hub to connect devices together, or you can use hub to connect to a switch, which the hub can hold multiple devices that the switch would not be able to. But in today, switch can do that, so hub are not that used anymore. And then on the wireless side, we see the wireless router. So it could be the same router on the wired and the wireless part, because a wireless router could also be used to connect to a switch, which would then connect to a computer or another networking device. Then we have the access point. The access point connect to the wireless router and transmit wireless signals to devices. It's used to connect device to the internet. And now we move to some basic function of what the wired network is made of. So the wired network uses copper and fiber cables. So these are the medium of communication it's used to interconnect computers to the internet. And then the standard use is the IEEE 802.3, which you saw in our second slide. It's part of the data link layer, the 802.3. And a disadvantage with wired network is that they have mobility limitation, because you can go as far as the cable can take you, and most cables are not more than 100 feet. So you can be more than 100 feet away from a networking equipment, a wired networking equipment. It also requires physical access, which means you just need to be at the computer to be able to use it. And you can see here it has a high speed up to 1 gigabyte, we talk about later. And so we move to the benefit here, where we bring up the speed. The speed of the internet connection using a wire is up to 1 gigabyte, as we saw in the first slide, which means it's a lot faster than a wireless network. And 1 gigabyte usually can be achieved with ease using a fiber optic cable connection. It has high noise immunity. Noise can interrupt the transfer of signal, while zeros and ones, but because wired network has high immunity, it makes it more tolerable to noise, unlike a wireless network. Highly reliable, because the only thing that will make you not to be able to access the internet with a wired connection is if the device is not working, or the cable has been cut, or the cable is not connected. And because of not being mobile and the requirement to be connected to a physical device to be able to access the network, it creates additional security that's not there for wireless. So wireless network, on the other hand, has communication medium, which is air, and the standard protocol used for wireless network is the 802.11. But when compared to wired network, wireless network is a lot slower. We could get to a gigabyte if we with the development or the improvement in wireless connectivity, but currently you cannot achieve that with wireless connection. You still have to go through a wired connection to get up to 1 gigabyte of speed. But one benefit is that there's no physical limitation and it's very highly mobile. We look at it here. The physical limitation, which include cable cluster, it's not there, and it's best used for mobile devices. Installation is very easy, depending on the kind of use you're going to use it for. For enterprise level, you might need a professional to install them, but for a simple use like a coffee shop or home use, they're very simple and easy installation and management, and they're very mobile as well. Then now we look at the wireless security risk. The multiple risks associated with wireless network. And here the list here, you can see piggy banking. That's a major issue with people not securing their wireless network. Wall driving, another issue. Wall driving used to be popular, but not that much within the urban area anymore. So wall driving, basically, it's like piggy banking, where piggy banking you access network that are within your vicinity, which are unsecure. You can connect to them to use it to surf the internet. With wall driving, the person actually drives around in a car or in a motorcycle, whatever they choose to use, looking for an unsecured network to connect to. And the next is the even twin attack. An even twin attack is where an attacker set up an access point that looks similar to the actual access point which we have set up in our enterprise or in our home system, and makes us think, oh, that's the correct access point, and then you log into it. Now the attacker will have access to all the packet being sent through the network because they control that access point. And with evil twin attack, it could be a major issue with wireless network, because once the attacker gathered information about the wireless network, they could set up an evil twin even out from outside the building. They don't have to go in. Then we have the wireless sniffing. So wireless sniffing, kind of similar to evil twin in the sense that the packet is being captured by a third party who is not supposed to see it. But here with the wireless sniffing, it's as a result of unsecured wireless network. So if an attacker get into the network, they're able to see the packet you send in on the network. And sometimes it's not intentional. Some people might just be doing their work, but because you are using the same network as them, they might be able to see sensitive informations like password and credit card information you're sending. Have the theft of mobile devices, shoulder soften. Those are not major security risk. Why theft of mobile devices could be, it will depend on the nature of the person who stole it. If it was stolen for the purpose of attacking a system, then yes, they can use it and go to the same place where that mobile device is already connected to the network and have access to the network to learn about them, collect information, or even attack it. A shoulder soften, it's like someone just peeping on your computer. So when you're using your computer, because it's mobile, you can move it anywhere, sit at a coffee shop. That allows them to be able to sit behind you and see what you're doing. When you key in things in, they can see exactly what you can and can copy that information. Mitigation to the wireless security risk. You want to make sure you're changing your password from the default password, and also changing password regularly. Unsecured networks sometimes just come with default password, can be classified as the network being unsecure unless that default password is complex and unique. Some internet service provider nowadays try to make their default password very complex and unique. So if it's not that complex and unique, then you have to change it. Either way, it's a best recommendation to change the default password and update your password as often as possible. We have restrict access. So you want to make sure you're only granting access to people who are required to have access to the network, or devices that can access the network. Restricting access here can prevent in-between attack, because the device they might be using to create that attack would not be recognized on the network, and that restriction will prevent them from gaining access to the network. And use of data encryption, this is very important. And wireless network nowadays come with multiple variation of encryption system. We have the Wi-Fi protected access, which is the WPA, and we have the WPA, WPA2, and WPA3, which is the latest. The WPA3 improve on the security of WPA2 in the sense that the WPA3 prevent a brute force attack. It only allows you to guess password once, and after that it stops it. And I think that's a game changer when it comes to security. Also, you want to use a VPN. A VPN will help encrypt your system. If you're working, you have a public Wi-Fi or public network that's open to the general public, and you're using it for your company business or any other thing you're using it for, with that VPN, it will prevent the public user from having access to packet being sent within the network, because the VPN provides the additional layer of encryption to your data that's sent in the network. And most important thing to do is making sure your software are always up to date, and that's very important with access point. Access point software needs to be updated as often as possible. As soon as you get one, if it's you're doing a batch patch, that will be great. Make sure it's always updated, because security loophole can be the reason for the patch, and if you do not update, you leave yourself to be vulnerable to that security loophole which exists in the software, the update you're using. So updating to the most current version will be your best way to prevent the security risk associated with the current software. And finally, on the last page, you see here we have a reference for the articles that were used for this presentation. Thank you. You have a wonderful day. God bless.